Hey everybody, so I'm Kamala for those of you who don't know me, and I'm so excited and relieved. Today is June 3rd, and I have decided to get over myself completely. Stop writing about it, stop calling my friends on the phone about it, stop chatting about it, and finally do what it is that I have had this idea to do for the longest time, which is to share. I want to create that space for women where we can talk about topics related to us and we can encourage, support, and inspire each other. So welcome. I guess we can call it White Lotus Blooms TV, and I'm so ready to just get it going. All right? Today, I want to talk about being intentional and living fully on purpose. And I'm sure we hear this thing about living on purpose all the time, and I want to share one of my stories with you. And just for the record, this whole notion of living on purpose for me is a continuous journey. And I'm not sharing from a place of, oh, I'm there and I want to tell you how to get there. No, I want to share my journey. All right? So I was reflecting recently on the fact that I am an associate clinical psychologist and how I got there. And the story is a very interesting one, right? And I want to share it, especially to highlight the issues of purpose and purpose changing, and interestingly, how on many occasions failure or what we perceive to be failure is one of the things that oftentimes ushers us into living more intentionally on purpose. So here's the story. I, since a very young age, always wanted to be a pediatrician, right? I was obsessed with babies growing up, so I said, obviously this is the job for me. So went to high school, pursued all the sciences, and I thought, I'm on my way. A-level results come out now, guys, and the results them never bossy, right? It should have been assigned to me to perhaps consider something else, but you know you have your heart set on it, and practicality and what people want for you, etc. And so I pushed all the way through to university, and I was doing biochemistry with a minor in chemistry, right? At university now, I started to buck upon several what should have been red flags, but ultimately, the point got home to me. So here I am at university, started off doing well, and then just buck up on a brick wall. I ended up in one particular semester, that was the game-changing semester, pretty much failing all my courses, right? So here's this quote-unquote bright girl who never does so good for A-levels, reach university now, and it's like, yes, but I thought I was one of the bright ones. What's going on, right? So I reached a point where I was depressed, clinically depressed, about what was going on in my life, just a lot of issues at that time. And I decided I had to make a change. So interestingly, I tapped back into something that I was interested in since about 5th or 6th form, which was psychology. Didn't know much about it, but just a little I did know, I thought, this is something that I could do, that's something that would probably work for me. So I started to research it more, and I decided that this was what I wanted to do. So now I have the difficult task of going to the then Dean of Social Sciences, Professor Barry Chevans, to convince him that I do in fact need to transfer from NatSci to SoSci. Guys, let me tell you something. There is a very powerful element in being intentional. And what I mean by intentional is deciding from the get-go that this is what I want, period. You don't have to see the whole journey, but decide what it is that you want. See yourself being that, right? Make every move towards it as if it is already done. And that's pretty much what Christians define as faith. So I went to Professor Chevans that day. Mind you, the exam grade them never no kind of bossy, right? And Professor Barry Chevans, the gentleman that he was, he outlined very eloquently for me what the requirements would be for a student to be granted a transfer. One of them was that the student was a misfit in their current faculty, which I identified as being. The other one is that the student should have pretty much impeccable grades or very good grades. As it turned out, and I believe as God would have a hand in it, in the minute or the hour that Professor Chevans was about to check the system, right, to see if I was the student who was doing well but was a misfit, he said to me, Kamala, the system is not working at this moment, but I presume that you are bright, but just that you're failing. Listen to me, right? So immediately, he said to me, and I'll never forget the words. He said to me, "I'm going to go ahead and engineer your transfer to SOSI." I started over from ground zero. All I got exempted from were the foundation courses, FD, 10A, and all that type of thing. And I started over from scratch, right, to pursue this new course of study. Now, I was on student loans, and the fact that I was now seeking a transfer to another course of study in the Student Loan Bureau's policies constituted an immediate, right, termination of the previous agreement that we had. And so I now had to start repaying those years of loans with immediate effect. I'm not working, and I would now have to put this on my mother. I'm not somebody who gets very emotional very easily, and I can tell you that when the student loans officer said this to me, I immediately started to cry, because all I could think about was how my whimsical desires were now placing this financial burden on my mother. She said to me, "Kamala, if this is what you want, then go for it." And I decided to go for it. So now I start SOSI, right? I did my 3 years of the undergraduate degree program, did very well, very grateful, excited. But I wanted to go further in my studies, so I wanted to pursue a master's degree in clinical psychology. Can I tell you that it was 4 semesters that constituted the program, and they were pretty costly. And I'm going to tell you how intentionality, faith, and the favor of God all coincided in this, in this goal becoming a reality. So the first semester of the 4, my mother was able to get the funds together. That was taken care of. Good. Second semester came, and we're now thinking, okay, what's going to happen? My mother kept saying to me months in advance of the funds becoming due, she kept saying to me, "I just feel like my salary is not correct, like something is wrong." And she started to very slowly start to ask questions and, check into the whole process of, what the exact figure should be, etc. Can I just tell you that right when the funds were like on the brink of becoming overdue, exam time coming now, right? Exam card have to be printed, all this type of thing. Right on the brink of that situation, my mother called me one day to say, "Kamala, the accounts department at work called me back to say, Miss King, there has been an error in your salary, and we have some retroactive monies to give to you." You can't tell me that that is not an intentional provision by God. So that's now 2 semesters out of 4 taken care of. I'm grateful, I'm excited. Third semester come now, and you say, "Okay, God, you're doing well. This is going really well. What now?" No miracle not coming, nobody not call or say them have back money for no more. So I'm just like, okay, let's just keep waiting and seeing. But in the meantime, I started to develop this back problem that just would not go away. Out of the clear blue sky, I started to have immense pain in my lower back. The doctors weren't sure what was going on, etc. So I remember going to Dr. Edwards at the time and asking him if he had any connections, in terms of, what do they call them, orthopedists who could help me to get an MRI done, whatever. So he said to me, "McQueenie, let's see what's possible." And he also said, "Write a letter to the department and ask them to waive your tuition in part, especially due to the fact that you're having significant health challenges, and those costs are going to be quite overbearing." So I followed through and wrote that letter, and I submitted it. While I'm waiting for the response to come from that letter, we went on a field trip for our neuropsychology program, and we ended up going to a particular hospital. I can't remember the name right now. But needless to say, the professor, right, of neurology at that particular hospital wanted to show us how it is that medicine and psychology kind of, intertwine. And so he wanted to show us how the MRI works and is used by neuropsychologists to diagnose and treat and all that type of thing. So he said to the class, "Anybody wants to volunteer to get an MRI?" Everybody in the class just turned around and said she would do it. So right then in that moment, I got a free MRI done. That's one thing off the list. One very expensive thing, might I add, off the list. All right, school fees still due. So we're going and going and going. As it turns out, the university very graciously agreed to waive my tuition. Well, not waive, they covered my tuition completely for that third semester. So now it's 3 out of 4, got the MRI, things are improving, medically we're moving on. Semester 4 comes, and of course the question is, okay, God, you're going good. What's going to happen now? So semester 4 comes around, and the back problem is still lingering. You know what I mean? Maybe about mid-semester, I felt like I was getting over it completely, for which I was very grateful. But funds not really miraculously appearing at this point. So I remember going to the psychology unit at the time and was talking to somebody, and I said, you know what, let me just go check the exact figure just to have something in mind, to intention around what I need. So I went into the computer lab and logged on to the system, and when I checked, my balance that I was owing the university was something like $8,000 mash. So I'm confused because it's a lot more than that, right? I knew that I owed them. So I went back to the unit, and the admin manager at the time said to me, Kamala, let me tell you something. If you see $8,000 on the system, I'm going to pay the $8,000 now? What you arguing with the university for? That's what they say you owe. Just pay that money. And she said, hold on, let me just call up by the department office and just see what's going on. Guys, can I tell you that the same University of the West Indies, whom if you owe them $2, you will not be able to graduate, they opted, all on their own level of graciousness, right? They opted to go a step further and completely covered my tuition, not just for the semester, but for the year. I doubt I had asked for the year. I think I was focusing on the semester because I didn't want to be too, too enough, too extra, too greedy. And they went ahead and extended that for the entire year's tuition. And that is how come I can say today that I'm an associate clinical psychologist. And in all honesty, it's not only about having a title, but for me, it is about walking in purpose. And I'll tell you why I say that. Growing up, my friends always considered me to be that person that they could call when they're feeling down, when they have something on their heart, to help them work through some emotional situations. I've always heard that I'm a very good listener. I've always heard that my voice is very soothing. And I didn't really put the purpose clues together until the failure of the biochemistry degree boxed me in my face, and I had to really consider, who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And I want to point those questions to you today. We're here. We're alive, right? You're listening to my voice. You are still here. I believe. I don't know what you believe, but I believe that that means that you're here on purpose. There is something for you to contribute. There is something that only you can do as well as you can do it. There are many people who do the same thing that you probably are called to do, but nobody else can do it the way you can do it. I heard it put very interestingly in a question recently. Suppose it is that you did not have to worry about money. What would you want to be doing? Apart from lazing on the beach and traveling the world, right? Like, what would you want to do? What would you be passionate about doing as your life's work? Another way I heard it put was, suppose your doctor gave you strict orders to only operate for, let's say, 8 hours per week. So you ought to be on bed rest, and there are only 8 hours per week within which you can do whatever work, whatever passions that you are excited about. What would you really want to be doing? And I've been asking myself these questions for, consistently, because as I mentioned, it's a journey. I don't know that I will wake up tomorrow and be fully squarely in purpose. I think it's always evolving. And I ask you today, what do you think you are really here for? And there are always purpose clues, guys. So don't feel like, oh my God, this is such a hard question, I don't know. What do your friends say about you? What do they value in you? What are some of the things that you shy away from acknowledging that you're good at? Oftentimes, those are the things that you should be doing. And another trick that sometimes our mind plays on us is to seek to validate what we feel passionate about because we don't see anybody else doing it. Can you imagine when Les Brown said to his mother after, or his parents, after all the years of spending on his tuition, that mom, dad, whomever it is that raised him, you know, I really feel like I want to be a motivational speaker. I don't know that they were very excited, especially in that time that I assume he was stepping out in, you know, in that way, because there weren't many prototypes, there weren't many precedents for him to look on and say, there's a motivational speaker, they're making X dollars per month, which is our safety net oftentimes, right? And so I know it must have been scary to say the least, but that doesn't mean that we have the luxury, right? That doesn't mean that we have the right to shirk what it is that we feel called to do. So it's June the 3rd, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I have so many things that are bubbling up in my head and in my heart that I want to do, and I'm getting over myself. Like I've been saying to my friends Dion and Keisha, they've been saying it right back to me. I've been saying it to Esther, all the women in my inner circle, Sherry and all of you, that listen, we don't have any other time. This is the time to get it together. And what I mean by get it together is start to really unpack the mindsets that don't serve us very well. We're not getting any younger, by the way, right? It's the time now to step squarely and fully and intentionally into what it is that we're here to do. That might not mean for you that you should leave your job, because maybe your job is an extension or a vehicle, right, through which you are accessing or tapping into purpose. That's excellent. But I know for many of you watching, that's not the reality. You do not feel fulfilled in the way that you would like to be by what it is that you're doing. You're doing it because it's safe, because it's practical, perhaps because somebody put that idea on you that you are a good XYZ, but there's something perhaps missing. And so today I encourage you to take an inventory. Who am I? What do I really want to be doing? If money wasn't an issue, what would my life's work be? I'm going to be continuing this video series because it must be done, right? There's no way of shirking it at this point. I'm going to be continuing to have events because I feel super fulfilled when I really share and connect with other people, especially women. I feel called to do that. And so I'm going to ask you to hold me accountable. I'm going to ask you to share what it is that you are working on, the steps that you're taking to tap into purpose. I'm going to invite you to send me questions about topics, right, or current events that you would love for me to comment on. I'm looking so forward to serving and to sharing and to continue to create a space where as women, and of course for men too, right, but predominantly as women, that we can support each other, be inspired, and just live fully and beautifully. Thank you so much for listening to all these 18 minutes of this video. Feel free to share it with your friends, your loved ones, and I'll be starting a YouTube channel in a very short while. So thank you again, and I'm looking so forward to hearing from you. Much love.